The conference room fell silent as the baby's cry pierced through the presentation. 20 pairs of eyes turned toward the source of the disruption, a young woman near the back, her face flushed crimson as she fumbled with a diaper bag while trying to soothe the infant in her arms. Sarah Mitchell wanted the floor to swallow her whole. This was supposed to be her moment, the pitch that would save her small marketing firm from bankruptcy, and now her 6-month-old daughter Emma had decided it was time to make her presence known in the most spectacular way possible. "I'm so sorry," Sarah whispered, her voice cracking as she stood, gathering her belongings with shaking hands. "I'm so sorry. I brought my baby." The words tumbled out in a rush of humiliation. Her babysitter had cancelled at the last minute, and she'd had no choice but to bring Emma along, praying the baby would sleep through the entire meeting. That prayer had gone unanswered. She could feel the weight of judgment from every person in the room, especially from the imposing figure at the head of the table, Marcus Chen, CEO of Chen Industries, the biggest potential client her struggling company had ever pursued. This meeting had taken 3 months to secure, and she was watching it crumble in real time. Sarah had been running on fumes for 18 months now, ever since her ex-husband walked out 2 weeks after Emma was born, leaving behind nothing but divorce papers and empty promises. She'd built her marketing agency from scratch while pregnant, working 16-hour days, taking calls between contractions, designing campaigns during midnight feedings. Every client, every project, every small victory had been earned through sheer determination and countless sacrifices. But this opportunity was different. Landing Chen Industries would mean stability, security, maybe even the ability to hire help so she wouldn't have to choose between being a mother and running a business. Now, as Emma's cries escalated, Sarah felt all those dreams evaporating like morning mist. She turned toward the door, bouncing Emma in a desperate attempt to calm her, when a deep voice cut through the chaos. "Ms. Mitchell, please wait." Marcus Chen rose from his leather chair, his 6'2" frame commanding attention even in simple movement. Sarah froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. This was it, the moment he would ask her to leave, would tell her she was unprofessional, would cancel the meeting entirely. She'd seen it happen to other working mothers, had heard the stories whispered in networking groups about women who'd lost everything because they couldn't keep their personal lives separate from business. But Marcus didn't ask her to leave. Instead, he walked around the conference table with measured steps, his expression unreadable behind his wire-rimmed glasses. When he reached Sarah, he did something that shocked everyone in the room, including Sarah herself. He held out his arms and said gently, "May I?" For a moment, Sarah couldn't process what was happening. The CEO of a billion-dollar corporation was asking to hold her screaming baby. She looked into his eyes and saw something unexpected, not annoyance or impatience, but understanding. With trembling hands, she passed Emma to him, half expecting the baby to cry even harder in a stranger's arms. Marcus cradled Emma with practiced ease, supporting her head with one hand while gently patting her back with the other. He began to walk slowly around the room, swaying slightly, humming a soft, tuneless melody. Within seconds, Emma's cries diminished to whimpers, then to hiccups, and finally to silence. The baby stared up at Marcus with wide, curious eyes, one tiny fist clutching his Armani tie. The transformation was miraculous. Sarah stood there, mouth slightly open, watching the most powerful person she'd ever met soothe her daughter as if he'd done it 1,000 times before. "I have 3 daughters, Marcus said, his voice soft but clear enough for everyone to hear. 22, 19, and 16 now. But I remember those days, the sleepless nights, the impossible choices, the guilt that comes with trying to be everything to everyone." He paused, looking down at Emma, who had now grabbed his finger and was studying it with intense concentration. "My wife and I, we started our first business in our living room while she was pregnant with our oldest. There were days when we took turns holding the baby while the other one worked. Days when we showed up to meetings exhausted, covered in spit up, apologizing constantly for simply trying to survive." The room remained silent, but the energy had shifted completely. Sarah noticed several people leaning forward, engaged rather than judgmental. Marcus continued walking with Emma, who had now laid her head against his chest, completely content. "I'll tell you what I learned during those years," he said, addressing the entire room but looking directly at Sarah. "I learned that people who can juggle a business and a baby, who show up even when everything is falling apart, who refuse to give up despite impossible odds. Those are the people I want to work with. They possess a kind of strength and creativity that you can't teach in any business school. He walked back to Sarah and carefully transferred Emma into her arms. The baby, now peaceful and drowsy, snuggled against her mother. "Ms. Mitchell," Marcus said, "why don't you tell us about your proposal? And please, stay seated. If Emma needs attention, attend to her. We're all adults here, and I think we can handle the presence of a baby." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them back. She sat down, Emma secure in her arms, and opened her laptop with one hand. As she began her presentation, her voice grew stronger with each word. She outlined her vision for Chen Industries' rebranding campaign, incorporating the notes she'd stayed up until 3 a.m. perfecting. She spoke about authentic marketing, about reaching real people with real stories, about the power of showing humanity in corporate spaces. Emma dozed peacefully throughout the presentation, occasionally making small sounds that no longer felt like interruptions but rather like punctuation marks in Sarah's pitch. When she finished 45 minutes later, the room erupted in questions, good questions, engaged questions, the kind that meant people were genuinely interested. Marcus asked about implementation timelines, about her team's capacity, about her vision for long-term partnership. Not once did anyone mention the baby or the rocky start to the meeting. 2 hours later, as people filed out of the conference room, Marcus approached Sarah one final time. "I'm giving you the contract," he said simply. "Not because I feel sorry for you, but because your ideas are exactly what we need. Your proposal was the most innovative we've seen, and your persistence in getting here today, despite the obstacles, tells me everything I need to know about your work ethic." He paused, then smiled, a genuine smile that transformed his typically serious face. "My youngest daughter wants to start her own business after college. I'm going to tell her about you, about today. I want her to know that success doesn't require perfection. It requires showing up, even when it's messy and hard and embarrassing." Sarah tried to speak but found her throat too tight. She managed a nod, tears now flowing freely down her cheeks. Marcus pulled a business card from his pocket and handed it to her. "My executive assistant's direct line is on the back. Next time you need a babysitter for a meeting, call her. We have an excellent corporate childcare facility on the 5th floor. It's there for exactly this reason." As Sarah walked out of that building, Emma sleeping peacefully in her carrier, she felt something she hadn't felt in 18 months, hope. Not the desperate, grasping hope of survival, but the solid, grounded hope that comes from being seen, from being valued, from discovering that kindness still exists in unexpected places. The story of that meeting would spread through Marcus Chen's company and eventually through the business community. It would be told and retold, not as a story about a woman who brought her baby to a meeting, but as a story about humanity in the boardroom, about leadership that recognizes strength in vulnerability, about the moment when someone chose compassion over convention. And for Sarah, it became the turning point. The day she stopped apologizing for being both a mother and a businesswoman. The day she learned that the right people would see her struggles not as weaknesses but as testament to her incredible strength.